Ready to go back to Hogwarts. You know we love a good deep dive, and this time we're going deep into Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. But, we're not here to relive the glory days, no sir. We're tackling the play's biggest curveball, Albus Severus Potter, sorted into Slytherin. Can you believe that? Talk about shaking things up.
Talk about a game changer. I mean, generations of Potters in Gryffindor battling against, well, everything Slytherins come to represent, especially after Voldemort, and then Harry's own son. Sorted there. Oh, there are going to be some serious consequences.
Absolutely. And the play jumps right into it. No easing us in. Platform 934, that whole bittersweet frenzy of parents saying goodbye. You can practically feel the weight of the world, or at least the weight of legacy, on Albus's shoulders.
Even before they even get on the train, you can see how much the past, how much history is weighing these kids down.
Little Lily, asking Ron about tricks, clearly she's heard all about those Weasley twins. It's like living in the shadow of your parents' heroism. That's a heavy load for a kid. It really is. And as they head off to Hogwarts, all that pressure just keeps building. Albus, he hits it off with Scorpius Malfoy on the train. They connect over, of all things, their worries about their dads. Can you imagine trying to find your own way at Hogwarts with those legacies hanging over you?
It's such a classic growing up story, but, well, magnified, because it's happening against this backdrop of magic and these huge expectations. And then, of course, the sorting ceremony, the way the whole Great Hall goes silent when that hat lands on Albus's head. I don't know about you, but I could practically feel the tension in the air.
Oh, absolutely. The anticipation was killer. And then, boom, Slytherin. It's like a punch to the gut, isn't it? Potter and Slytherin, what does that even mean?
And that's where it gets really interesting. It makes you question everything you thought you knew. About good and evil, about destiny. Can you be a Potter, be in Slytherin, and still be a good person? Can Albus break free from what everyone expects? These are the questions, the really big questions that the play digs into, And I think they go beyond just this world of magic. I mean, don't we all feel that pressure? Those expectations from family, from society, whatever it might be.
So true. And you see that play out in that growing tension between Albus and Harry, right? Harry trying to understand, trying to relate. He even says, how can you hate a place you haven't actually visited yet? But Albus just feels like he's being judged before he's even done anything.
It's tough to watch because Harry's coming from a good place. He wants to protect Albus from all the prejudice, all the negativity he faced being connected to Slytherin. But by doing that, it's like he's creating a different kind of distance between them.
He really is. And unfortunately, that distance, it's only going to get wider as the story goes on, especially with the arrival of a new character weighed down by his own past Amos Diggory. He's still completely consumed by grief over Cedric,
And that's where the play, I think, really starts digging into this idea, this hold that the past can have on us. Amos, he's so desperate to change what happened, to bring Cedric back. He's willing to do almost anything.
And that desperation, that's what makes him such easy prey for someone like Delphi.
Right.
She slides in, all friendly, claiming she's related to his family, uses her job at St. Oswald's to build trust. It's a little creepy, honestly, how easily grief can be used against someone, don't you think?
It's a good reminder. Even with magic wands and all that, people are still vulnerable. And Delphi, she knows how to use that. Remember that line early on, she's talking to Albus, and she says something about grown-ups being stuck in the past. It's almost like a warning, but you don't really get it until later.
Oh, totally. It's one of those things, second time watching, it hits totally different. Kind of like, oh, what was it? That augury symbol Delphi has.
On her wrist.
Yeah. At first, it's just like, oh, cool tattoo or whatever. But then when we learn about her, about Voldemort and auguries being connected to death, it's like, oh, chills.
Yeah, the play is great at that. Dropping these little hints,
Yeah.
Foreshadowing.
Yeah.
Makes you want to go back and watch again to catch what you missed the first time.
For sure. But before we get too sidetracked by Delphi's whole deal, we got to talk about, well, the time turner.
Yes.
You can't just have a time turner lying around, especially with teenagers, and not expect some trouble. But stealing it, and then to top it off, they decide to mess with the Triwizard Tournament. Come on. You'd think they'd have learned a thing or two from their parents about messing with time, right?
It's that classic teenage impulsiveness, isn't it? All that knowledge, all that history, and still they can't resist trying to fix the past.
Yeah.
But you can understand it.
Yeah.
In a way. That urge to make things right, it's powerful.
And boy, do their actions backfire. I mean, Cedric surviving the Triwizard Tournament as a spare. It throws everything out of whack. And then there's Ron and Hermione ending up unhappy, not even married. In some of those alternate timelines, it's like every little change has these huge ripple effects.
Exactly. It shows you just how connected everything is.
Yeah.
Makes you wonder, if you could go back, change something, even with the best intentions, would you, knowing how risky it is?
I don't know if I could handle all those alternate timelines, especially that one where Voldemort wins. Yikes. Talk about pressure. But that's what makes it so gripping. You never know what's going to happen next. And just when you think you've got it figured out, bam, Delphi's true identity comes out.
That reveal that she's Voldemort's daughter, one of the biggest twists in the whole Harry Potter world, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. It changes everything. All those little details, the augury, her comments about the past, they all suddenly make sense, but in like the creepiest way possible.
And her plan, to bring Voldemort back by using Albus and Scorpius. Bone-chilling, honestly.
Yeah. It's like she's all that darkness they fought so hard to defeat, all bottled up in one person.
She's like this walking, talking reminder that evil, that darkness, can pop up when you least expect it. But even facing that, there are still these incredible moments. Like Snape, even in that messed up reality, he's still fighting for good, still loyal to Lily. And when he tells Albus about love being the strongest magic there is, gets me every time.
Me too. It's so powerful. Like a reminder that even when everything's dark, love can still be there. And speaking of powerful, what about that scene with Harry and Dumbledore's portrait?
Oh, man, that one. That's where we see Harry really dealing with it all, all the pain he's carried for so long. And Dumbledore, to hear him admit he's made mistakes, that he has regrets, it makes him seem more human, like we haven't really seen that side of him before.
It's real, It's like you can really feel that weight of grief and loss and how important it is to actually face those feelings, those tough emotions, which, let's be honest, Harry's not always great at.
Nope, not at all. And it all comes crashing down, doesn't it? In that final showdown with Delphi.
Talk about high stakes. The whole wizarding world, time itself, hanging in the balance.
I was on the edge of my seat.
Me too. And those choices, those impossible choices they have to make. I mean, Harry, sending Albus back, knowing things might not turn out okay, that takes some serious faith.
It shows you how much Harry loves him, though.
Right.
And how much he believes in Albus. He has to let go. Except that he can't protect him from everything. But he can give him the tools to face it.
And that's what makes that last scene at Cedric's grave so powerful. Harry finally admitting he's not perfect, that he's hurting too, connecting with Albus, finally really connecting as equals almost. There's a lot of healing in that moment, don't you think?
Absolutely. It's like they're finally letting go of the past, or at least accepting it and finding a way to move on together, which I think that's the hope the play leaves us with, right? The past, yeah, it matters, but we can still choose what we do with it.
Exactly. And seeing Albus and Scorpius walking back to Hogwarts, just being kids again, goofing around, it's like, it's hopeful,
Yeah.
Like they face some scary stuff, they made mistakes, but they're going to be okay.
They're figuring out who they are on their own terms, not just as the son of, which is huge. That's something we can all learn from.
So true. As we wrap up then, what's the one big thing you hope people take away from this deep dive?
For me, it's a reminder. Even in a whole world, built on magic and destiny and all that, choices still matter. What we do, even the small stuff, it shapes who we become. And sometimes the bravest thing you can do is face those fears. Own your past. And then choose to look forward with an open heart.
Beautifully put. It really makes you think, though, doesn't it? If we could go back knowing what we know now, would we change things? Or is it better to accept the journey, even the messy parts, and appreciate how far we've come?
That's the question, isn't it? The one cursed child leaves us with. And it's one worth thinking about long after the curtain closes.